For decades, your home was just a place to sleep before rushing back out into a demanding world. You gave your energy to your career, your family, and endless obligations. Now, a new season has arrived. Yet, well-meaning people might still pressure you to stay overly active, making you feel guilty for simply wanting quiet. The Buddhist teachings offer a radically different view. Entering your 70s is a sacred stage. We will explore why choosing to stay home is the ultimate act of wisdom and self-love. The cultural myth versus the wisdom of retreat. We live in a society that is obsessed with motion. In the West, and particularly in the United States, we have built an entire culture around the idea of the hustle. We are conditioned from a very young age to measure our worth by our productivity, our visibility, and our endless accumulation of experiences. And this immense pressure doesn't magically stop when you retire. In fact, it often morphs into a new kind of pressure, the relentless mandate of active aging. Open any magazine or turn on any morning talk show, and you will see the modern blueprint for a successful retirement. You are supposed to be traveling the globe, joining endless social clubs, picking up extreme hobbies, and filling every square inch of your calendar. The underlying message is loud and clear: if you are sitting at home, you are missing out. If you are quiet, you are fading away. We have unintentionally pathologized the natural, beautiful desire to slow down, treating it as a problem to be solved rather than a perfectly natural season of human life. Because of this cultural myth, many older adults feel a quiet sense of guilt when they simply want to stay indoors. You might find yourself exhausted by the sheer effort it takes to keep up with the world's frantic pace, yet afraid to step off the treadmill for fear of becoming invisible. But let us look to the wisdom of the East, and specifically to the teachings of the Buddha. The ancient masters understood something that our modern world has forgotten: constant outward expansion eventually exhausts the spirit. In the Buddhist tradition, the Buddha himself did not view withdrawal from the busy world as a failure. He taught the profound value of viveka, a Pali word that translates to solitude, detachment, and inner stillness. Viveka is the deliberate withdrawal from noise and distraction. It is never framed as a punishment or as isolation. Instead, it is prescribed as essential nourishment for the mind. Think of the traditional stages of life observed in ancient Eastern philosophies. Life was viewed as a deliberate journey through distinct seasons. The early years were for learning, the middle years were for building, providing, and carrying the heavy responsibilities of the world. But the later years, the twilight decades, were meant for something entirely different. This was the time to hand over the heavy burdens of society to the next generation and step back into the forest, metaphorically or literally, to cultivate the inner life. When you reach your 70s, the world's busy work is simply no longer yours to carry. The noise of external validation begins to naturally fall away. The body, with its new rhythms and limitations, gently invites you to release the need to perform. Staying home is not a surrender to aging. It is an act of rebellion against a culture that demands you run yourself ragged until your final breath. When you choose to stay home, you are not closing the door on life. You are closing the door on the noise so that you can finally hear yourself. You are choosing the wisdom of retreat, honoring a sacred stage of life that is designed not for doing, but for being. Transforming your space, the home as a sacred hermitage. In the ancient Buddhist tradition, when a monk or a nun reached a profound level of practice and maturity, they would often step away from the bustling center of the monastic community. They would retreat to a small dwelling, perhaps a quiet cave, a modest forest hut, or a simple room at the very edge of the monastery grounds. This dwelling had a specific name in Pali. It was called an avesa. An avesa translates simply to a place of residence, but in practice, it meant so much more. It was a sacred space shaped entirely by the intention of the person who lived inside it. The great meditators of the Buddha's time did not choose these quiet, secluded places because they had failed at life or because they had nothing left to give. They chose them because they understood a fundamental truth about human nature: where we dwell intimately shapes what we become. I want you to think about your current home. Think about the room where you sleep, the chair where you sit to drink your morning coffee, and the window where you stand to watch the light change as the seasons turn. You might look around and see only an ordinary house filled with old furniture and familiar walls. But I want to suggest to you that your home, right now, at this exact stage of your life, is ready to become your avesa. It is ready to become your hermitage. To understand this transformation, we must look at what your home used to be. Before the age of 70, your home was likely a base of operations. It was a pit stop. It was the place you returned to only after the world had thoroughly exhausted you. You came home after long commutes, after stressful meetings, after managing social obligations, and after juggling the 10,000 demands of a busy, productive life. Your home was a place to quickly recharge your batteries so you could rush back out the door the very next morning. But as you enter your 70s, something gradual and beautiful occurs. The heavy demands of the outside world begin to loosen their grip. You no longer have to rush out the door at dawn. You no longer have to perform for a boss, impress colleagues, or manage the chaotic schedules of younger dependents. In that newfound, wide-open space, your home stops being a waiting room for the rest of your life. It becomes the destination itself. Modern psychology confirms what ancient wisdom has always known regarding the spaces we inhabit. Environmental psychology shows that our physical surroundings profoundly dictate our internal landscape. A cluttered, chaotic environment scattered with the stressful remnants of a busy life keeps the nervous system on high alert. Conversely, a space curated for stillness signals to the brain that it is finally safe to rest. Think of your mind like a heavy bowl filled with water. If you are constantly carrying that bowl from place to place, rushing through errands and social events, the water is constantly sloshing and spilling. It is turbulent and cloudy. The water will only show you a clear reflection of yourself when the bowl is finally set down. When you consciously choose to stay home, you are setting the bowl down. You are giving your mind the exact physical conditions it requires to become still, clear, and mirror-like. Transforming your home into a sacred hermitage does not require grand renovations or getting rid of all your worldly possessions. It is entirely a shift in intention. It is about creating small, mindful corners in your daily environment. Dedicate a specific chair by a window strictly for your morning tea and quiet reflection, keeping electronic devices far away from that spot. Arrange a small table with a plant, a meaningful photograph, or a candle to serve as a visual anchor for your peace. When you walk from the kitchen to the living room, notice the floor beneath your feet and recognize that this is your private sanctuary. By changing how you view your space, staying home transforms from a passive habit into an active, deeply spiritual practice. Your living room becomes the fertile ground where your deepest inner transformation can finally take root. The richness of silence, meeting yourself in the quiet. There is something our modern civilization is deeply terrified of, and that is silence. Notice what happens the moment many people wake up. A television is flicked on to provide background chatter. A smartphone is immediately brought to the face. The radio plays steadily through the kitchen. We have constructed an entire world designed to protect us from ever experiencing a truly quiet moment. And there is a very human reason for this avoidance. Silence can initially feel profoundly uncomfortable. When the relentless external noise finally stops, we are left alone with the internal noise. We begin to hear ourselves. And sometimes, what we hear in that stillness is not easy to face. For a person looking back on 7 decades of life, silence can amplify old worries, past regrets, and the quiet hum of unresolved questions that have been avoided for years. We often use daily noise as a shield against our own memories. But here is what the Buddha discovered, and what great meditators across the centuries have confirmed again and again. Silence is not empty. Silence is full. Silence is the exact place where reality actually lives. When we are constantly surrounded by the chatter of television anchors or the artificial drama of the outside world, we are living in a fabricated reality. But in the quiet of your own home, the present moment becomes visible, tangible, and real in a way it never can be when you are perpetually distracted. There is a beautiful teaching in the ancient Buddhist texts detailing the most direct instruction on mindfulness. The Buddha advised his followers that in the seen, there should only be the seen. In the heart, there should only be the heart. In the sensed, only the sensed. This means dropping the elaborate stories we constantly layer over our experiences. It means shedding the heavy narratives of the past and the anxieties of the future, and arriving completely in the right now. Just this. Just here. As you settle into your 70s and 80s, your physical senses naturally begin to soften. Hearing might not be quite as sharp, vision might not be quite as crisp. The world of intense external sensation begins to gentle down. While our youth-obsessed culture views this purely as a tragic loss, the Dharma invites us to see it as a profound invitation. It is an invitation to stop being pulled outward by every loud sound or flashing light, and to begin journeying inward instead. I want to offer you a very simple, practical way to embrace this richness. Tomorrow morning, before you turn on the news and before you reach for your phone, just sit in your favorite chair. Take your morning cup of coffee or tea, rest your hands in your lap, and for 10 minutes, let there be absolute silence. Do not try to empty your mind. Do not attempt to meditate in any formal, rigid way. Simply listen to the silence and notice what is actually there. You will likely be surprised. Because when you truly listen, you realize that silence is not an absence of sound, but a vibrant presence of life. There is the steady, miraculous rhythm of your own breathing. There is the subtle sound of the house settling around you, keeping you safe. There might be a bird singing outside your window, or the distant, gentle hum of the morning breeze. Above all, there is a feeling of warmth, of weight, and of deep presence in the room. That presence is you. It has been there your entire life, waiting patiently underneath all the frantic noise, waiting to be noticed. Silence is exactly where you finally meet yourself. The body as a master teacher, embracing impermanence. Let me speak honestly with you about something. The physical body changes after 70. The joints speak more loudly than they used to. The energy that once carried you through a relentlessly packed schedule now has its own distinct pace and its own quiet rhythm. Your sleep changes. Your appetite changes. Your balance changes. We live in a culture that profoundly worships youth, speed, and limitless productivity. Consequently, society has taught us to experience all of these physical shifts as a form of loss or failure. We are told these changes are problems to be constantly corrected, aggressively medicated, or stubbornly overcome. We are sold endless products to hide our wrinkles and mask our fatigue, reinforcing the exhausting idea that aging is a battle we must fight until the bitter end. But the Buddha taught a practice known as Kaya-nupassana, which translates to the contemplation of the body. In this deeply grounded practice, the aging physical form is not viewed as an obstacle to your spiritual life. The body is not something to angrily push past or shamefully ignore. The body is a master teacher. Every new ache carries crucial information. Every moment of tiredness is a gentle invitation. Every slowing down is the body's intelligent way of saying that profound wisdom is available right here, if you will only stop and receive it. Think about what the aging body actually demonstrates if you pay close, honest attention. It perfectly demonstrates anicca, the fundamental Buddhist truth of impermanence. Everything changes. Nothing holds its exact form forever. The body that was strong and resilient at 30 is different at 50, and it is entirely different again at 70. When we truly see this reality, not just as an abstract philosophical concept but as a physical sensation in the way our knees feel when we rise from a chair, something monumental can happen. We finally stop fighting reality. There is a tremendous, liberating peace found in stopping the war with your own biology. When we stop insisting that our bodies should be other than what they are, the deep suffering that comes from resistance begins to melt away. Now, I want to be very clear. This perspective does not mean you should stop caring for your health. Gentle movement and proper care remain incredibly important. Please continue taking your morning walks. Please do your gentle stretching. Care lovingly for this remarkable vehicle that has carried you through 7 or 8 decades of life. But understand that there is a vast difference between mindful physical care and anxious, youthful striving. When you choose to stay home, you have the unique opportunity to move slowly and intentionally through your own private space. You can turn every ordinary movement into a profound meditation. Walking down the hallway to the kitchen becomes a walking meditation. Taking 10 minutes to meticulously fold your laundry becomes a meditation. Watering a houseplant, washing a single dish, or simply sitting in the afternoon sun can all be transformed. If done with full, unhurried awareness, all of these quiet domestic tasks become Kaya-nupassana. It becomes the active practice of being completely present in this exact body, in this exact moment. Your body is not slowing down as a punishment for growing old. It is slowing down to offer you an invitation to finally stop rushing through your own existence and to actually start living in it. The harvest of decades, cultivating true wisdom. In the ancient scriptures of the Pali Canon, there exists an extraordinary collection of poems known as the Therigatha and the Therigatha, which translate to the verses of the elder monks, and the verses of the elder nuns. These are not poems written by the young, nor do they capture the initial, fiery enthusiasm of youth first discovering the spiritual path. Instead, these verses were composed by old men and old women. These were individuals who had lived long, complicated, and deeply layered lives. They had known the heavy weight of labor, the warmth of love, the sting of betrayal, and the profound sorrow of grief. Only after traveling through all of those seasons did they arrive at a level of clarity that only time can bestow. One of the most celebrated poems in this collection belongs to the Venerable Mbapali. In her verse, she speaks with absolute honesty about her aging body. She describes her hair turning gray, her skin wrinkling, and her limbs losing their youthful vigor. Yet, she concludes her reflection not with despair, but with complete serenity, stating that while the physical form is frail, the one who truly understands this truth rests in perfect peace. Mbapali did not achieve that legendary peace despite her advanced age, she reached it precisely through her age. This is a truth that you must internalize: you are not behind in life. We live in a modern world that clumsily measures wisdom by external credentials, by degrees, titles, net worth, and career milestones. By those superficial metrics, a person in their 70s who has stepped away from the workforce and retired to a quiet life at home can sometimes feel as though their period of personal growth has concluded. But the Dharma measures wisdom, or panna, in a completely different way. True wisdom is not something you can memorize from a textbook, nor is it a commodity that can be rushed. It develops the same way a great oak tree grows, slowly, invisibly, through the steady accumulation of decades and seasons. It is forged through loss and subsequent recovery. It is cultivated through loving deeply and learning the painful, beautiful art of letting go. It is distilled from the 10,000 varied experiences that only a long life can provide. You have been quietly gathering the raw materials of wisdom your entire life. Every single difficulty you survived, every relationship that taught you something painful yet true about yourself, every instance where you were wronged and chose grace over vengeance, and every time you were utterly broken but somehow found a way to heal, all of that is currently resting inside you. However, there is a fundamental rule regarding wisdom: it does not emerge in the midst of noise and busyness. Wisdom requires stillness to ripen. If you are constantly running from one social event to another, or filling your mind with the endless chatter of the outside world, you never give your life experiences the chance to settle. Staying home provides you with the exact environment required to harvest your decades. It offers the quiet, uninterrupted space to look back on your journey, to see the hidden patterns, and to connect the threads of meaning running through your personal history. In the silence of your hermitage, you can finally digest your life, arriving perhaps for the very first time at a profound understanding of what it has all been for. You are not fading away, you are exactly ripe. Stillness as generosity: how your peace heals the world. As people cross the threshold of 70, a quiet, unsettling anxiety often begins to surface. It is the fear of no longer being useful. You may have spent the majority of your life working a demanding job, running a business, raising children, or constantly managing the needs of others. For decades, you likely defined your worth by what you produced and how much you contributed to the world around you. When the frantic pace of that lifestyle naturally shifts into retirement, the sudden quiet can feel less like a reward and more like an existential threat. You might find yourself secretly wondering, am I still needed? Does my existence still matter if I am no longer actively doing things for others? The Dharma's answer to this painful question is incredibly beautiful and direct: yes. You are needed more than you can imagine, and your life matters deeply precisely because of your willingness to be still. To understand this, we must look at how the Buddha taught the concept of dana, or generosity. In our modern society, generosity is almost always viewed as a loud, material, and highly visible act. We praise people who donate large sums of money, build massive institutions, or dedicate countless hours of physical labor to public causes. While those actions are undoubtedly noble, the Buddha placed a profound emphasis on a completely different kind of giving, the quiet, steady, intentional generosity of the spirit. And here is the liberating truth: this highest form of generosity does not require you to go anywhere. It can be practiced fully and completely from exactly where you are sitting right now. Consider the immense gift you can offer simply by using your phone from your favorite living room chair. In a world that is moving at a breakneck speed, almost everyone is starving for attention. People are desperate to be heard. When you call a friend, a neighbor, or a grandchild, you have the time to offer them something rare, pure, unhurried listening. You do not call to talk about yourself or to anxiously report the daily news, you call to hold space for them. To listen without judgment, without checking the clock, and without rushing to offer a quick solution. To give another human being the rare experience of feeling completely seen and valued is an extraordinary act of dana. Furthermore, your stillness allows you to engage in one of the most powerful spiritual practices in the entire Buddhist tradition, metta, or loving-kindness meditation. Sitting quietly in your home, enveloped by silence, you can systematically direct wishes of peace, safety, and well-being outward. You can visualize your family members one by one, wrapping them in your thoughts of protection. You can extend this warmth to your neighbors, to the people in your community, to those you have had conflicts with in the past, and eventually to the entire world. This is not a passive mental exercise, it is an active cultivation of a powerful, energetic presence. Do not underestimate the profound impact of a human being who radiates genuine peace. Think of a majestic, ancient tree standing quietly at the edge of a busy field. The tree isn't running around trying to fix the world. It isn't performing tasks to impress a society obsessed with productivity. It is simply standing there, rooted and completely still. Yet, because of its silent presence, birds find a safe place to build their nests in its branches. Exhausted travelers find cool shelter under its shade. Its roots stabilize the earth beneath it, and its leaves clean the very air that everyone breathes. The tree's entire existence is an act of effortless generosity. When you stay home and cultivate inner peace, you become that ancient tree. In a world that is utterly saturated with anxiety, fear, and restless striving, a genuinely steady and content person is a rare sanctuary. When your children, grandchildren, or friends step into your home, they will immediately feel the difference. Your calmness will soothe their nervous systems. Your quiet joy will nourish their spirits. You do not need to go out to change the world. By anchoring peace in your own living room, your very presence becomes a healing gift to everyone you encounter. The final preparation, finding freedom in facing mortality. I want to speak now about something that our culture finds incredibly difficult to discuss. I want to speak about the end of life. Please do not turn away, and do not be afraid of what I am about to say. We are not going to talk about death in the way modern society usually does, with hushed discomfort, clinical avoidance, or paralyzing fear. We are going to look at it the way the Buddha taught us to look at it, with clear eyes, deep honesty, and tremendous kindness. In the Theravada Buddhist tradition, there is a core meditation practice known as Maranasati, which translates to the mindfulness of death. To a modern Western ear, this might sound morbid or excessively pessimistic. Why would anyone willingly spend their precious quiet time dwelling on the end of their life? But the purpose of Maranasati is never to create anxiety or despair. Its true purpose is to create absolute freedom. The Buddha taught that a person who holds the reality of their own death clearly in their mind, not with frantic worry, but with the calm, open awareness of a seasoned meditator, can live with a quality of presence that is simply unavailable to someone who is always trying to push the thought of death away. When we know in our very bones that this life is finite, fragile, and entirely unrepeatable, something profound shifts within us. We stop postponing the things that actually matter. We stop saving our best kindness, our deepest forgiveness, and our expressions of love for a later that is never guaranteed. We stop waiting to enjoy the simple warmth of the morning sun or the quiet rhythm of our own breathing. We stop fighting the aging of our bodies and start living fully and gratefully in the right now. This is why staying at home in your later years is not about passively waiting for the end. Every day that you spend in the quiet of your avesa, cultivating presence and practicing metta, is a day of preparation in the deepest, most spiritual sense. I am not talking about the anxious, logistical preparation of signing legal documents or organizing your estate, though those practical matters certainly have their place. I am talking about the inner preparation of a soul becoming complete. There is a beautiful image in the ancient teachings that illustrates this perfectly. Think of an old oil lamp illuminating a dark room. The lamp does not worry as its oil gradually runs low. It does not begin to flicker with anxiety as the hours pass, nor does it try to conserve its light in fear of the dark. It simply continues to burn clearly, warmly, and fully, giving its light completely to the room until the very last drop of oil is gone. That is what your time at home allows you to do. By turning inward, practicing mindfulness, and digesting the long harvest of your decades, you are ensuring that your own lamp burns with absolute clarity until the very end. The daily practice of being fully alive at home is the practice of dying well by living well. The modern world will always try to call you back to its chaotic rhythm. The television, the advertisements, and perhaps even well-meaning friends will always offer you another reason to rush out the door, to do more, and to frantically prove that you are still vibrant and relevant. The noise is loud, and the cultural pressure is very convincing. But the Dharma calls you home. It calls you not just to the physical safety of your house, but to the deep, unshakable sanctuary of your own being. Choosing to stay home in your 70s, 80s, or 90s is not an act of surrender. It is an act of profound spiritual courage. You are turning your physical space into a sacred hermitage. You are transforming your softening body into a master teacher of impermanence. You are allowing the rich silence to ripen the wisdom you have gathered over a long lifetime. And in your quiet stillness, you are offering the world the immeasurable gift of a peaceful presence. You do not need to earn your peace by running another mile or crossing another continent. You do not need to be younger, faster, or more active to be valuable. You only need to be still, to set down the heavy bowl of your life, and to finally recognize the quiet, radiant presence that has been waiting for you all along. If you have enjoyed this teaching and found a measure of peace in these words, please consider sharing them with someone you love who might need to hear them today. And to continue walking this path of mindfulness together, I invite you to subscribe to the Buddha Coha channel, where we explore these ancient teachings every week. May you be well. May you be peaceful. May you find true happiness in the life that is uniquely yours.